So you started your business to solve a problem and create lasting change in your community, but now you find yourself stuck in the day-to-day operations of your business. How did that happen?
It's so easy to get busy and burned out working in your business that you don't have time and energy to work on your business. That's where we come in.
I'm Scott Woods, and with over 30 years experience in C-suite and accounting, I'm here to help you get your numbers in order so you can scale your business and your mission effectively.
And I'm Steph Thomas. With my 20 years of experience in human resources at all levels, I'm excited to help you grow as a leader of your business and surround yourself with members that understand your vision.
You're listening to the Changemakers Collective podcast, where impact-driven businesses come to accelerate their growth through servant leadership.
Well, welcome back to our next podcast. We're talking about strategic planning for this year as you're ending a year or beginning a year, and how important it is to strategically plan, whether you're a for-profit or a nonprofit. So
People stink at strategic planning.
oh, Scott, this is such a hard
People
topic.
stink at strategic planning. We work with clients all the time. Everybody hates doing it, and as a consequence, nobody does it well.
I don't think everybody hates it because I love
think
it.
the majority of people
There's a
hate doing
mindset.
it.
There's a mindset. But for the people that love to do it, do they do it well?
Vast majority, no, they don't do well. And the biggest thing that we see with your planning is that you don't take the time to go back to why you started the business in the first place. We talk about, I do a lot of hiking. I've hiked 32 miles in a single day. One of the things that helped me through that process, and talking about how hiking is a metaphor for running a business. Now, I will caveat this by saying I have not hiked Mount Everest, but everybody knows climbing Mount Everest is a thing.
It's a thing.
So the way I like to think about it and the way we've presented it to clients, when you're doing strategic planning, it has to start with what your Mount Everest is. What is your vision for what you're trying to accomplish?
You know, Scott, one of the things that I think as we help people with their strategic planning is a lot about mission creep.
Mm-hmm.
Pointing people back to their vision statement. You know, I've said this 100 times. Does your vision line up with what you're actually doing?
True.
So nonprofit,
True.
for-profit, whatever.
Doesn't make a difference. Personal, your vision statement is a picture of what it looks like when you have ultimate success. The vast majority of vision statements are more likely mission statements. What are the activities? The mission statement is the activities that are going to get you to the top of the mountain. So if you liken the climbing of Mount Everest, the top of Mount Everest, the view when you're standing there sucking wind is looking around at all the mountains, all the beauty, all the things. That's what you're trying to accomplish.
That's your vision.
Yes. What does your success look like? The mission objectives is how do you get there?
That's your guardrails.
Yes. Your guardrails, I actually like to think of your guardrails as your value statements,
Oh, that's good.
right? What are those non-negotiables so that when you see, this is going to poke some people, when you see the new shiny thing and you say to your team, I'm the boss and now I want to spend half of our budget on AI stuff, even though you don't know anything about it, your guardrails, your value statements are going to say, hold on, how does that align with our values of what we're trying to accomplish, including having the impact in the community? And how does that get us closer to our vision, the climbing of the mountain?
So, Scott, one of the things that I say frequently is working on the business and in the business. So, you know, if you don't have a vision statement, do you have to pay $50,000 to
goodness
work
gracious,
with a team to build a vision statement?
No, please, no, I'm begging you. I am begging you. But you have to have
A vision statement.
I have to have a desire. You have to have an outcome you're trying to get to. The vast majority of businesses that we see on an everyday basis had some kind of planning meeting when they were starting the business years ago and said, "Oh yes, my advisor or my college professor says, "Hey, I got to have a business plan," or my banker, I have to have a business plan." And the first thing it says when I Google business plan is, "What's my
What's your
vision?"
vision?
And you create it. You create your business plan, it gets shoved in a drawer or a picture on the wall, and you never go back to it at all.
You know, Scott, another thing that you really brought up that's important to me is your core values. So, a
Yeah.
lot of times people talk
Yeah.
about vision, mission, and values. And, like you said, they write them one time in the beginning when they're forming their business, whether it's for profit or nonprofit, and they put it in a drawer and nobody understands. And you then experience mission creep. You were talking about values and saying no to
Mm.
things like AI.
Mhm.
AI is great, but if it doesn't line up with where you're
If it
going in your
doesn't help
business,
you carry your pack up the mountain, you need to be able to say no. And that's
right?
part of that strategic planning process is understanding the parameters in which you say no to things and having a team around you that says, does this fit within the guardrails of our values? Does it get us closer to our vision by moving us up the mountain through your mission? And does it help and line up with what we're trying to do in the community? So when we're doing that strategic planning meeting, we're talking about that first. We spend a ton of time, and you and I have spent hours working with businesses that are like, yeah, we just want to get to the tactical. Help us understand what we have to do, what we have to do. And almost always it circles back around to, well, what are you trying to
Right.
accomplish?
So, what I hear you say is it's okay to look at your vision statement, but it's also okay to revisit, is your vision statement relative to today? And if all of those things are right, you have a vision statement, you have a mission statement, you understand your core
Yes.
values, they're lining up with where you're going. Now, what do you do to
Yeah, the
strategically
strategic
plan?
planning is way easier. Now, I will say the vast majority of the time, your vision for what success looks like will not change. Your mission, which is the activities that get you closer to your vision, could change, right? With the advent of a greater use of artificial intelligence, you can do research-based stuff in a heartbeat, whereas you used to have an entire position that was focused on research or marketing types things. You can have avenues that are more systematized and automated now that when you created the mission statements were different. So, but your vision of what reality looks like when you solve this problem should stay the same all the time. Your values should stay the same all the time because I don't know, they're your values.
Right.
So when you're
They don't
going,
change.
yeah, when you're going through the process, filtering what you're going to do and how you're going to measure it and how you're going to impact has to go through those lenses.
I think that's a great way to bring up the next thing, right? So the cookie cutter process is the vision, mission, and values.
Mhm.
After that, it's really tailored to who you are as a
That's
company,
correct.
so sometimes we run people through a SWOT analysis. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What opportunities do you have? What threats do you have? Sometimes everyone knows what that SWOT analysis is. They're bringing that to the table because they're doing it on a quarterly basis. And we need to focus on, what's their financial plan?
Yes. Now, being a financial guy, I have a
Oh, I knew you'd get
special
fired up.
relationship with the dollars because if you don't have any money, you can't have any impact. Now, that may sound opposite of what we said earlier episodes where we said, "Hey, you can have both impact and financial success." I am not saying that you have to eradicate your desire to have impact because you don't have money. What I'm saying is you have to be creative around how you generate revenue streams so that you can support both your business and having the impact. And if your impact is part of your value system, it's going to happen as a natural outflow of what you do anyway.
Scott, what I hear you say is there's a place and time that you really have to focus on the finances. And
Yes.
during your strategic plan, that's the place and time that is a major focus. Because if you don't have money, then you can't
Yeah,
move
you
into
can't do
your
anything
next.
else. And yeah, you're absolutely right, Steph. And you have to, the money should be a byproduct of what your mission objectives are. And this is going to make all of my CPA friends mad, but accounting and the financial side of the business should be systematized to some degree. You set it up and you create the financial models about what you're doing, what the revenue streams are, what your cost analysis, what your cost centers are. It should just work. As long as you're doing the activities that get you closer to your vision, the financial side of it should work itself out so that you don't have to spend a lot of time worrying about, are we making a dollar? How many times have we been in client meetings where, well, I don't know how much money I'm making per widget that we're selling?
Mhm. That's a
And
problem.
yeah, we're sitting there going, wait, hold on. What kind of business plan do you have? That's a foundational thing. If
Right.
that's where you are in your business and you're unsure of how to price things and how to model growing your business in terms of price per unit or price per service, you need to call us. That's a separate conversation rather than the strategic plan. We're assuming when we're doing strategic planning that you have a financial model that works
Right. And when we do a future podcast on financial planning and
and price
where's your
modeling.
money and
Yep.
what do you do with your money, I think that we can really break that down. What I see right now is people focus when they do their strategic planning solely
Yes.
in one area and not
Yes.
another. And that's
Yes.
a big opportunity that we miss. Or they do their strategic planning in a bubble and they don't get outside help. So, a lot of times if you're the only one asking the question, how do you know you're asking the right
Yes.
question?
Come on. That's good. That's good, right? Because what is let's break it down all the way back to the beginning. What is a strategy? Hoping that you make money and hoping that your widget is going to sell is not a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. Hope is important, but hope is not how you build your business. You build your business on data and understanding your customer, understanding who you're trying to serve, and then building process, building financial models around delivering on your brand promise.
Scott, and you and I definitely work with a couple of clients that fall into that. When you are basing your annual strategy
Mm,
on the data and on a shared vision and
mm.
on a
Come on, shared
collective
vision. Yes,
shared
let's
vision is
go.
big,
Let's go.
then you don't start your strategy in January and March re-strategize what you're going to
Yeah,
do
yes, that's
and
true.
re-strategize
That's
again in
true.
November and then come to December and think, well, wait, we didn't get anything accomplished.
Correct. That's super important. I love I love that you bring up the shared vision. That's an imperative, right? I mean, you cannot move forward without a shared vision. So please talk about that a little bit.
So, of course, I love and I am certified in the leadership challenge where, there is just a handful of principles of how you
Yes.
lead people, right?
Yes.
Modeling the way, inspiring a shared vision are just a couple of them. But when you are creating a strategic plan, if you can't get your team behind you and then model how to
Yes.
execute it, then really you've set yourself up for failure before the plan even gets
Yeah,
started.
because once everybody buys in to what you're trying to accomplish, that's why, and we harp on it all the time. So forgive us for constantly poking everybody about the vision. But if you don't have a succinct and portable vision of where you want to get to, and you don't have a team that believes in where you're trying to go, you are constant, no matter what strategic planning you're doing, you're constantly gonna be fighting an uphill battle.
Scott, a great analogy of that are, and everybody talks about we're all rowing in the same direction. But what people forget about is, when people are rowing, when speed picks up, if one person is out of sync,
Mhm.
the whole thing flips over. That absolutely can happen in a for and
Oh, no question.
nonprofit.
No question about it. Again, let's think about it. When you're doing strategic planning, step one is to revisit your vision, mission, and values. What are those things that are bedrock foundation for your organization? Step two is to make sure that everybody on your strategic planning team, and then consequently everybody downstream, no pun intended, shares in that vision of the future reality. Then it becomes an exercise in understanding the SWOT. What are we doing well? How do we multiply what we're doing well? What are we missing? And how do we fill the gaps for what we're missing? And what are those things that are outside of our control that are going to impact? Everybody, we just went through an election, and there are a handful of people that believe that the world is coming to an end, or there's going to be some crazy uh, legislation that's going to cause their business to have a problem. How do you plan for that? How do you plan for or
COVID.
mitigate COVID or a hurricane or whatever? How do you get through that kind of stuff?
Although there are some things that look the same in a for-profit and a nonprofit, let's take a few minutes to just talk about
Mm.
specific things for nonprofit.
Yeah, that's good. For all you for-profit people, don't go away
Stay with
because
us.
we are firm believers that if for-profits actually started acting like nonprofits, you gain a lot of efficiency and you'd gain a lot of potential for collaboration. Nonprofits as an organization have to have an oversight board. It's required as a nonprofit.
Mhm.
Those are resources that if you do it well, and we can talk about that at a later time, if you do it well, you're going to have force multipliers. You're going to have people that are going to bring insights from the outside of your organization to say, are you thinking about this? Are you thinking about that? How do you plan for the inevitability of a virus or a hurricane or whatever? You have to include them in the strategic planning process. Where you include them is important. Presenting and having the board in your brainstorming sessions may not be the best way to have an efficient strategic planning meeting. However, if you have a situation where you're stuck and say, hey, these are the 3 or 4 initiatives that we're focused in on in the next coming year, and presenting it to the oversight board and saying, what do you think? It allows them the opportunity to say, that's great, and I can help this way. And now all of a sudden, you've got somebody else doing the work.
Right? That's inspiring a shared vision
Exactly.
and allowing others to act
Exactly
to do
right.
it. Scott, you bring up a good point, and I ask us to kind of say, what do you do for profit versus nonprofit? But it looks the same, right? Your
Yes.
leadership team has to get behind you, your board has to get behind you wherever that you are planted. But the most important thing is, as you are living a life of purpose,
On purpose. Yes, let's go.
that you're planning.
Yeah, you have to do you have to get back to why you're doing what you're doing. And if you understand your purpose and where you're going, the strategic planning process, while daunting for some, will be much more enjoyable because you're actually planning for progress, planning for impact
Not
instead
planning
of
to stay open.
and exactly right, instead of trying to figure out how to not lose money.
I love it. Speaking of money,
Oh,
I
come
can't
on,
wait
let's
to
go.
our next episodes where we're talking about, how to
do
do
we
your
spend it?
money.
Yes.
Scott, this is a lot of information. And, sometimes, especially people like me, they need a list to
Sure,
kind of help
sure.
guide them.
What we're gonna do for all those folks listening here, if you go to our show notes, there will be a link in our show notes that will take you to a free resource that gives you a step-by-step on how to do your strategic planning, as well as the formatting for a SWOT analysis and an exercise that we like to call what's working, what's broken, what's missing, and what's confusing. It's similar to a SWOT, but I like it better. I know, Steph, don't like it nearly as much, but I like it better. So we'll include both, and we'll let our listeners figure out which one they like better.
Right.
But it
Again,
is an
'cause
opportunity to kind of get some information that would be a little more in depth of how to do the strategic planning on a regular basis.
I think that's awesome.
In the meantime, make sure every day, all day long, live a life of purpose on purpose. We can't wait to see you next time.
Have a great one. Thank you for listening to the Changemakers Collective. If you've enjoyed this episode, please help us grow our community by leaving us a review on Apple Podcast or rating us on Spotify.
You can also find our podcast on YouTube, so you can come and leave us a comment over there as well. If you want support growing your business and scaling your vision, visit us at silverbackventures.org or connect with us on LinkedIn.
Thanks again, and we'll see you on our next episode.